Hello traders, welcome to the weekly outlook and setups volume 272. You know what we're going to be doing, straight jumping into the markets, having a look what happened this week, and of course what we can expect for the upcoming one. So without further ado, let's jump into it. As usual, let's start with the economic calendar. So on Monday we have a bank holiday, which is Martin Luther King Jr.'s day. So bank holiday for that. So Monday very likely not going to be tradable. And you can see that this week we're going to have this World Economic Forum meeting. I think they're going to meet, the representatives are going to meet every day. So we have to be monitoring the news to see if some of that can potentially bring in some volume into the market. But what made an impression on me is that we don't have a lot of USD news. Like Tuesday, some GBP medium impact here. CAT CPI, so for the CAT traders and for the NZD traders, you gotta really watch out for Tuesday. Wednesday, also nothing. So just a speech from Lagarde here, a little bit late, and the forum meeting here. Thursday, unemployment claims, all right, not bad. Usually not something to really give a lot of boost into the market, but it's still all right to have a USD news release. And then on Friday, we have Bank of Japan, monetary policy rate. There are some forecasts to change it, so let's see how it actually comes out. Let's see what the press conference they're also gonna say. And then we have these PMIs, right? So Friday looks like the best day to be trading in terms of volatility. We're gonna be having the PMIs. So technically looking at this week, I will definitely be looking to trade, but maybe lower my expectations a little bit because there are literally no USD news. So the DXY could potentially be a little bit sluggish. And then potentially Thursday and Friday looks like the best days to be trading. So Monday is a skip. And then of course, all the days afterwards are definitely tradable. So let's have a look how the market looks like. Before I get into the analysis, make sure to click the first link in the description. I am running the Trading Fanatics community. It's so much value inside. We have 6,000 members. It's all about value. And not to say that the course that I have included here is absolutely incredible. So make sure to join us there. All right, as always, we're going to get started with the Dixie. So we still have the same weekly bullish imbalance. Now, of course, I'm going to keep drawing this one until it pretty much gets retested, because we're running away from it, which is okay. Now, what did we do this week? We kind of consolidated, I would say. It's an overall doji, even I would call it, with a bearish body, so not telling us much. And then transferring onto the daily time frame, the key area that we worked with this week has been this daily bullish imbalance here. Now, again, you can see Monday was kind of at the top, pushed up, dropped all the way back down, and then Tuesday and Wednesday drove us into that daily imbalance. And then kind of we consolidated around it a little bit. And then Friday actually gave us a little bit of a bullish indication, right? So Friday's closure is really giving me a lot of clue that potentially the market maybe wants to continue going higher. I also really do like this little detail that Friday's candle closed above Thursday's high, which kind of brings a little bit more bullishness into the table. So right now what I really want to see is the 4-hourly time frame to really start shifting bullish for me. Now again, you can see I really didn't trade this week, especially Forex at all. I was skiing this week. So overall you can see a consolidation, like especially since here, right, as we started tapping into that daily imbalance, it got all chopped up. There is not a single 4-hourly bullish imbalance anywhere. The only one we got was here, which was actually a pretty nice shorting into that daily imbalance. That is kind of the opportunity of the week. And right now, sure, we're having that bullish pop on the daily time frame, but there is still nothing on the 4-hourly time frame, right? Now, you can start dropping onto the 1-hourly and start refining things and start looking at breaks of structure and stuff like this. But to me, like, I work with daily and 4-hourly. If the daily and 4-hourly don't have anything, I don't keep dropping lower, because if you do that, like, you're not putting yourself a threshold. So imagine that there is a threshold here between your 1H and 4H time frame, and in order to go lower to 1H and 15 and 5 and 1, you need to, of course, have something on the 4-hourly or on the daily. And if you don't have it, you're not permitted to go down, which is gonna save you a lot of stupid trades and a lot of losses. Okay. I would say I am more bullish than bearish, but what I truly want to see for the dollar is a 4-hourly bullish push, 4-hourly bullish imbalances to actually show me that it wants to go higher. And then potentially, of course, we can start targeting this high, because let's not forget we're currently coming from this daily imbalance, which is already important, which is already pretty nice. So like in this case, you could potentially drop to the 1 hourly time frame to look for something, okay? But personally, I would be looking for 4 hourly bullish imbalances, 4 hourly bullish breaks of structures in order flow to get introduced in order for me to start taking longs and targeting these highs. So let's see how it plays out. I'm bullish on the dollar. Let's see how the other pairs are supporting that. Well, Euro USD also kind of a sluggish week. You can see we kind of took out the previous weekly low, pushed all the way up, and then closed again as a little bit of a doji rejection, indecisive candle, not telling us much. Transferring onto the daily time frame. Now, here's where it's kind of a little bit tricky because we were stuck between so many levels. We had this daily, and then we actually introduced the new daily bullish, which was kind of a bullish sign to me. But then you can see since this got introduced here on Wednesday, we pretty much have this supply and demand sandwich with a bearish on top and bullish on the bottom. And then you can see Thursday was a very choppy day, actually an inside bar. And right now we're once again having, you can see 2 days we're sitting inside Wednesday's candle. So usually when something like this happens, you can already start expecting a breakout. And then the next question is, where will the breakout take place? Well, having this daily bullish imbalance here is kind of a little bit more opposing to being bearish on Euro USD. Now, of course, you saw that I'm more bullish on the DXY, so I should be bearish on the Euro. But then, of course, transferring onto the forward time frame, we still don't have anything here. Like we're having a consolidation, we had like a little bit of a manipulation here on the CPI up and down. And then since then we did absolutely nothing. Right now it kind of looks like it wants to follow through lower. But as we tap into that daily imbalance, what I truly want to see if Euro USD is going to be bearish and of course the DXY going to be bullish is to tap inside this daily to react a little bit and then to start breaking below it and to really start showing me the bearish order flow, right? And then to potentially target this liquidity, okay? That is the main thing that I want to see. I'm not shorting right now into this daily bullish zone. I'm going to wait for the market to invalidate it or rather top, give a reaction, and then pretty much show me that the reaction is failing, start printing some bearish structure, some bearish order flow with imbalances, and then potentially from here is going to be my trade targeting a very easy target when I'm sure right now that the order flow has been bearish. So that is your USD. Of course, I can immediately give you the opposite scenario as well. The market tapping into that daily and starting to print bullishness. Well, guess what? Then I'm simply going to target that high. It's all about thinking in probabilities and all about pretty much accounting for all the scenarios that could develop. So you're prepared for almost everything. So that is your USD. I'm inclining more bearish just because of the bullishness of the DXY. Now, the pound has been the overall weakest currency across the board, and we can see that here we're having a weekly bearish imbalance, suggesting that bears are just in control. Now, are we going to pull back all the way up? That's going to be very nice because then we're going to be having a very nice zone to work with. But you can see, for example, here I was doing daily analysis for during this whole week. Monday formed this daily bearish imbalance. Then we have 1, 2, 3 days sitting inside, which is usually kind of a clue that the market is overall choppy. And then Friday gave us that very nice bearish candle, once again breaking below this Thursday's low, right? So I'm kind of seeing this one definitely as more bearish. The key question is, are we going to continue lower from here, targeting this first liquidity target, that is this kind of a daily swing point, or are we going to shift the order flow to pull back into the weekly and then short from there? Those are kind of the two main questions that we have, for which we have to transfer onto the forward time frame. And I want you to compare, for example, GU with EU or the DXY. Here we did had some, for example, here we had a bullish one and that bullish one actually failed and it made a bearish one. So there is your potential opportunity, right? The market tapped into that forward zone and it's actually responding from it right now. So I do see this one already being developed as a little bit more bearish. Okay, so I would say you can even drop to the 1 hour time frame in this case and start targeting this low. Okay, so I'm looking for something potentially like this. If it's gonna form a forward bearish imbalance to trade from and then target this low, that would be lovely. But here is a little tip that I can share with you. If you have a look to the left, is there something to potentially stop price and push it higher? No. We have this imbalance that is already tapped and already did its job. The only thing that kind of is left is this swing low from which we can potentially give a little bit of reaction. And then until this low, it's a no struggle area. It's pretty much nothing to stop the market. So if we get some introduction of bearish order flow, maybe even some 1 hourly breaks of structures with imbalances, for example, a very nice break below these lows with an imbalance and then a pullback lower high, a retest with an imbalance, that will be great. Okay, so I am definitely bearish on GU, just gonna be looking for some sort of zones to form either on the 4 hourly or on the 1 hourly time frame, because we already have 4 hourly in action and we already have that daily as well. So here again, I have that threshold. I have a daily zone, I have a 4 hourly zone, so I can allow myself to start dropping lower and then target these liquidity points. So bearish on GU, let's see if it's gonna get provided. After a very nice week on the previous one, this week is kind of an indecision again. Open up, pushed up, closed back down. Bullish body, so not telling us as much. And then on the daily time frame is also looking quite interesting. So we had a very nice push down and then we have a very sharp pullback. Again, if you have a look at all the zones, so for example, here we have that daily bearish, and at the same time on the bullish side, we're forming this very little daily bullish imbalance, but the market is already here. So this is what I pretty much told you I'm gonna wait for on EURUSD. If you remember, we're having that daily imbalance. I want to see the market tap, react, and then break. Here is an example of how that will look like. There is the market tapping into that daily imbalance, actually giving us a very nice reaction, like with this bullish body. So right now, if for example the market open and starts actually breaking below this low here, all right, potentially even with an imbalance, that will be a very nice sign that the market will potentially want to go lower and target these liquidity targets. Okay, so there is a simple setup for AU. Now, I don't like all the choppiness here. I don't like that we don't have a single 4 hourly imbalance. Again, I usually really love trading from 4 hourly zones. And when we don't have it, I'm usually really put aside. But here we're coming from this daily. And if this daily bullish fails, and if we start having expansions below this low, which we can mark like this, for example, with a little black line, then of course we can start looking for the shorts. And now, of course, immediately don't be always one-sided. What if the market right now actually responds from that daily zone and actually breaks above this high, okay, with a 4 hourly or a 1 hourly bullish imbalance to get retested? Then you can, guess what, you can potentially start targeting the opposing liquidity. Okay, so there are the potential two scenarios. Now again, I'm gonna be more bearish on this one simply because of the DXY, and also because again I'm bearish on EU and GU, and all of those pairs tend to go together. But I really want to allow Monday to play out to really show me where the order flow is gonna pick up, and then I'm gonna flow with the market and with whatever it's telling me. So let's see which side it's gonna pick. Now, if we zoom out a little bit on NZDUSD, right, look at where it is right now. It is very low. Like the last time it was here, it's in October 2022. And since this kind of price point here, this kind of price range of around 0.55 to 0.56, like this 100 pip range here, it reversed massively. So are we going to go and take out this low and then maybe reverse from there? Let's see. Now, currently it's bearish, but if you study the last kind of 4 weeks, it's very low volume. Like compare this candle or even this candle, 1 week pretty much moved more than 4 weeks did right here. So it's starting to slow down, and you can already say this from the weekly time frame, which immediately means that daily, 4 hourly and 1 hourly time frame are probably not going to be the best. This is why always I get like people ask me, why do I need to look at the hard time frames if I'm a scalper? I can just look at 1 minute and 5 minute. Well, good luck, right? You're gonna get a lot of stop losses, and you're not gonna know why, and you're not gonna know why your market is choppy, and you're not gonna know why you take stop losses, because the answer is always on the hard time frames, right? So here, kind of a similar situation to Aussie dollar. Again, daily bearish. At the same time, we're having a daily bullish, and that daily bullish, it looks like it's already failing. All right, so I will immediately say that this is more bearish right now, definitely, because you can see Thursday came in to react from this imbalance, and then Friday actually broke the previous candle's low, right? And then of course this is going to be our liquidity target. And then if we drop to the 4 hourly time frame, you can already see it, right? So there is the market tapping in, there is it reacting, and then you can see the market starting to close below this level here. All right, and then we did have some news. The market really made some very big whipsaws, and again, the thing that I don't like is that we don't have 4 hourly imbalances anywhere. Like the very last one is here, that kind of did its job, and then since then nothing. And this immediately signifies to me that it's a consolidation, it's low volume, And it's like, usually when you don't have imbalances is when you get liquidity grabs and you get a lot of stop losses, because the market wouldn't really have steam. So it's gonna want to, for example, massively push above to take liquidity, and then it's gonna take it down. And then instead of, for example, continuing lower from here, it's gonna have to take liquidity because there is no imbalance to rebalance, right? And again, currently we did take that liquidity, and right now we're starting to point lower. So I would again say, sure, this one definitely looks a lot more bearish than it looks bullish, but I need a zone to work with. Okay, so let's see if it's gonna rock lower a little bit, print some sort of an imbalance, and then start targeting this low first, and then of course this very major low at 0.55. And of course, because right now we have like this daily zone behind us, we're starting to see the order flow being bearish. You can potentially go to the 1 hourly time frame and look, for example, for some imbalances. Imagine, for example, something like this. Right, the market pushing lower, breaking structure with an imbalance, coming back to retest, and then you take your beautiful short. Okay, so potential right now again, break the structure with an imbalance, pull us back here into a 1 hourly bearish imbalance, and then potentially take a short into the liquidity target. So this is something that I'm going to be looking for potentially on NZDUSD. I am bearish, and it seems like I'm bearish on all the USD pairs. So let's see if they follow through. I'm gonna start from the monthly time frame on gold, just to very quickly remind you, we're coming from this monthly zone, all right? And the market is right now, could be potentially headed towards that monthly high, okay? Then we transfer onto the weekly time frame, and it's moving there, but it's moving very slow, right? So what I kind of really don't like about the market right now is that it's not making imbalances, and it's not really still giving us like the volume that we want. Like here we had this daily bullish imbalance, and since then I've been forecasting potential longs, right? First this high, then potentially that high, but it never made very clear zones to enter from, which kind of sucks. And then if you start dropping to the lower time frames, you're going to see that it's very choppy. It likes to take a lot of liquidity, and it's pretty hard to get into a trade. Now, what we have right now is actually the first, well, not the first, but in a while, a nice daily bullish imbalance lining with this order block here to the left. This is a very good longing area, by the way. So if the market pulls back here, then we can definitely target that high. Now the question is the market going to pull back first and then push, or is it going to first push, take the liquidity, and then maybe initiate the pullback? The answer is going to be on the 4-hourly time frame, right? But then you can see on the 4-hourly time frame, we have this zone that the market potentially should have pushed higher from, tapped in, kind of reacted, and then it started failing. So what the market is telling us right now, that it actually doesn't want to go higher. Now here we do have a little bit of a 4-hourly, I would say more of a reaction area, okay? So can this push the market higher? It definitely could, but seeing that this first zone failed, the market was very close to the liquidity, but right now we started retracing, it tells me that maybe it wants to go a little bit lower. So if we get, for example, something on the 1 hourly, you can see the 1 hourly is already shifting the order flow. You can see we're already having a break of structure with an imbalance, right? So we can look for something like this potentially, and then from there, see if we're gonna introduce the bullish order flow to potentially take some longs, okay? So I don't like that I'm long biased on gold, because I was bearish just on EU, GAU, and NU, and also I am bullish on DXY potentially, and gold also bullish, but that has been like that recently. The correlation has cracked, right? The DXY has been super bullish, but gold has also been super bullish. So I guess you cannot compare them or trade them with a negative correlation anymore. So let's see. I mean, we have these two zones. Let's see if this 4-hourly is actually going to respond. We're going to know this if the 1 hourly time frame actually starts to shift bullish and guide us higher, but also if it starts guiding us lower into this daily, then from that daily, we potentially have to wait for the bullish signs to tell us if it wants to go higher. This is the overall liquidity target here. Is this all-time? Oh, no, it's not all-time highs. We have a lot to go into all-time highs. So let's see if we're going to continue with that bullish order flow. We do have potentially 2 bullish zones to work with. We don't have anything bearish, which is also something that I like. But if we start forming bearishes as well, then of course you gotta wait for it to fail in order to get the highest probability setups. So I'm more bullish on gold. Let's see how it's gonna play out, those 2 zones. Let's see. After 2 choppy weeks on USDJPY, we're getting a little bit of a movement here. So we have been sitting inside this weekly imbalance for 2 weeks, the previous ones. And right now we're coming in to take the liquidity that is resting below this, so that is taken. Now, of course, the next kind of area that we can respond is this, let's say this weekly order block. We also have another weekly imbalance below. Now, are we gonna make such a deep pullback all the way down there? If it comes all the way down here, I would even start thinking that we're getting bearish. What I really like is the weekly candle closure, sweeping these lows, which is always good to see. Then we have a problem though, because on the daily time frame, we printed a pretty nice daily bearish imbalance. Okay, so this to me is a very bearish sign, right? It's a very bearish sign when you get a daily imbalance, because that means the daily time frame, of course, right now the sellers are in control, and in order for buyers to kick in, we gotta tap again, react, and then break the reaction, and then potentially start targeting the high. So this right now is gonna be a very key zone going into next week. And of course, I'm not sure right now whether I should be bullish or bearish. Now, what you can see coming into that daily, we're coming in with a 4-hourly bullish. Okay, so that is very nice. So for example, if you want a very quick trade, even on market open, you can wait for a pullback into that 4H and trade into the daily. That is like a very quick, I would even say scalp, a very quick trade. But then after we tap into that daily, then you really have to wait and see what is going on, because a lot of things could happen. Will the daily actually react and then break the reaction and then start introducing bullish order flow? Will the daily actually tap, hold, print bearishness, and then for us to take a short? Okay, will the daily tap and then consolidate, right? So those are pretty much potentially the three things that could happen. Maybe there's a fourth one. Okay, so I can't really draw a longer term bias here. I can say that I will be looking for a pullback into that daily zone, and then what happens after that daily zone is taken, this is outside of my control. I just have to wait for the market to show me and then of course react to it. Okay, so this is UJ. I would say I'm more bearish than bullish, but I'm really not, because the because the DXY is bullish. So USDJPY will also tend to hold with that. But in order for me to become truly bullish on USDN, I need to see this daily imbalance fail. All right, so that is this scenario where we tap and then we start breaking above, printing 4-hourly bullish imbalances to potentially go higher. So again, let's see. Let's see what this daily zone is gonna do. Wait for it. Let's see what it's how it's gonna react from it, and then of course flow with whatever the market is telling you. Let's check out the Euro Yen. So here we are currently tapping into this very tiny weekly imbalance. We don't have anything bearish, but we also have been bearish for the last 3 weeks, which is not a very bullish signal to me. And not only that, but for example, a lot of times I see questions like, what if you have 2 imbalances? Which one should I look for? Well, usually you would like to look at the last one, because if momentum is going to be big, right, the market is going to make a shallower pullback, maybe towards like a 30% pullback or something like this, and then it's going to continue. But right now here you can see we are starting to dip very nicely below the 50%. Okay, and this is kind of a little bit of a, it's a very 50-50 rule, because if we pull back more than 50%, that means we're entering in a very, very, very deep retracement, which oftentimes means that the market is kind of starting to put in a lot of bearish order flow. Okay, usually the strongest markets, they're not going to give you a 50% pullback, and they're the ones that work the greatest. So currently we're tapping inside that weekly zone. And do we have anything on the daily? No, we don't have a daily bearish. We were coming from this daily bearish, which kind of turned out quite nice. We had a very sharp Tuesday, but then Wednesday flipped all the way down, which then exposes this low. All right, and then this low got taken on Thursday, and Friday gave us a little bit of a reaction. Very hard to build a bias. I am more bearish simply because of what has been going on so far. All right, so bearish imbalances here. Here there was a bullish one that failed, introducing the bearish. So kind of the short sellers are right now in control. You can see we're making lower highs, but we don't have a new daily bearish. So then if I drop to the 40 time frame, come on, I thought this one is going to be a little bit better. We had this one already did its job. Yeah, now of course you can draw these old ones, but these old ones, I wouldn't use them to trade from them. I'm calling them reaction areas where the market could potentially tap and react, but for the reversal, I really wouldn't look for like a massive reversal. Now we're tapping into that weekly zone, and you can see within like Thursday to Friday, we didn't do much on the 40 time frame. So I would just simply say there is no opportunity right now in Euro Yen. And I don't even have like any scenarios, because I literally don't know what could happen. Of course, the market can push up, react, and then start printing bullishness. That's going to be nice. It can just go straight down from here. That's also going to be nice, but I don't really have any sort of zones to work with. This weekly zone, I wouldn't really take it as something to really look for a reversal, because it's an older zone, right? It formed in December. Right now it's tapping it. Okay, sure, but we've already been very bearish. So in order for me to become bullish, I really need to see this one start making higher lows, because currently it's been making lower highs, right? So start building some bullish structure and then potentially target this high. So yeah, I'm gonna keep it simple when it comes to EJ. I really don't have an idea here. I don't have a zone, so I guess I'm gonna be waiting. All right, GJ looks a lot better. Now look at EJ, right? It doesn't have anything bearish. It's kind of tapping into this bullish one. It's very 50-50. Look at GJ, right? So GJ also did have these two bullish zones, but they're all failed right now. And the market is starting to expose this low here. And also what we have is a weekly bearish imbalance, which right now takes the biggest importance. With the last thing that you have is the most important thing, because sure, you have that bullish, but when right now we have this bearish, and that is the very recent thing that happened, this is the people who are right now in control. Dropping onto the daily time frame is where it gets even more interesting. We're having a daily bearish imbalance that the market can definitely pull back into and then potentially start going lower. If you look to the left, there is absolutely nothing to stop the market, right? The only thing that we had is this swing low here, which already got taken, and then the market pulled back into the daily imbalance here and then gave us a beautiful short. I hope some of you guys took that one. I'm not sure what I called last week, but probably it was shorts, I hope. Now we have this daily imbalance again in a very similar setup, a very simple setup, sorry. I'm a bit distracted today because I'm a bit sick. Is gonna be this daily imbalance, then targeting this low, right? Now, of course, the second scenario will be if we tap this daily and then we fail it and then start printing bullish order flow, that is gonna then guide us into the weekly. But being so bearish and the pound overall being so weak, having this beautiful daily zone, I will definitely love a pullback into it and then targeting the liquidity. The forward time frame right now pretty much closed very choppy, so nothing to look here. Now, very clear setup, daily pullback into the liquidity. Let's see, it actually looks pretty good. Let's see if it plays out. All right, welcome to the futures part. So we're gonna have a look at ES. Personally, I didn't manage to trade this week. I was mainly focused on the AM session, which is pretty much after New York Stock Exchange. But a lot of the best opportunities occurred during the PM session, which is when I was away from the charts, unfortunately, as I was on a ski break and I was hitting the spa when the setups were developing. So that's very bad. But we're having a recovery week right now. Stocks are going very green. I actually bought some stocks as the market was dropping because it was a pretty nice drop and already sitting very, very, very nicely. Profits for that. But seeing this very big bullish weekly candle is very nice. And looking to the left, like we do have the only thing to potentially stop price is this extremely tiny weekly imbalance that I could even potentially ignore, because when they're that tiny, I tend to ignore them. And then what I also really like is this daily bullish imbalance that actually didn't even bother retesting. Friday just expanded. And right now, of course, the next target is going to be this one. And then the next target is going to be this one, right? We're starting to shift the order flow. And this is why, again, guys, I kind of don't look at structure anymore, because before I would say, all right, we're bearish. There's my 50%. I'm going to start looking for shorts, right? But as soon as, again, this big candle came in here, I was already bullish. I was already seeing the momentum being shifted. I was already seeing the 4-hourly order flow shifting all the way from the bottom, right? So I was no longer bearish. Now, of course, this is a daily imbalance that is right now turning into a breakaway gap because the market is not pulling back into it. So I would say we could potentially be headed for this liquidity first before we start making any sort of pullbacks. So then, of course, dropping onto the 4-hourly time frame here, you can even see here we have a 4-hourly breakaway gap, which tend to, again, not get filled until we take some liquidity. Now, we have taken this kind of micro swing point because we have this daily, but then there is this 4-hourly time frame one as well. And the market is giving us a little bit of a pullback. Now, do we have something on the 1-hourly? No. We actually finished with a slight bit of a bearish imbalance. So what I would really, really, really love for ES to do is to pull me back into this forward imbalance, and then from there see if we're gonna start getting the bullish price action to take longs. The second scenario will be is to actually fail this imbalance and then to drive us into the daily, and then from there see if the buyers are gonna start taking control again. Okay, so those are kind of the two scenarios, and they're both long bias. Now, can something happen in this World Economic Forum or Trump doing something? Oh, he's actually getting in on throne, if I can say this, next week, isn't he? I do think so. So that could be some volatility that is not on the economic calendar, but it can definitely surprise us as well. So we can already see it happening. We can already see a lot of optimism coming in this week with this very nice bullish introduction. So I'm definitely going to be more bearish, following daily zones to look for longs. Let's see how it develops, but definitely long biased. Let's check out NQ. Now, I think NQ can actually climb to new all-time highs even easier than ES, because you can see ES is further away. It has a little weekly bearish imbalance here. It's kind of a little bit more bearish, while NQ was a lot consolidative. It had a lot more corrective price action to the downside than ES. So this one can definitely also expand a lot faster. Similar situation here. We're having a daily bullish imbalance, although once again, it's a little bit different because the imbalance is a lot smaller than it is on ES, and ES is already rocking higher. This one is also rocking higher, right? Because if you trade futures, you're very likely going to be looking at both of them, NQ and ES, and then you have to determine the relative strength and the relative weakness in order to pick the better instrument. Okay, so currently they're kind of very similar, so we really have to see as the market opens which one is going to get a lot more bullish, and then of course choose that one. Because here you also have that daily imbalance, but the market is running away from it, which is looking pretty good. And then on the 4-hourly time frame is also pretty much the same. We're having that same 4-hourly breakaway gap that the market is not really supposed to pull back into. But yeah, in this case, you can see NASDAQ is further away from this liquidity than ES is. ES is almost there, right? So that kind of shows me right now that ES is actually a little bit stronger on the micro scale. Okay, so maybe it's gonna be a better idea to long ES because it's closer to the liquidity target. So on NASDAQ again, pull back into that 4-hourly breakaway gap is pretty much gonna be very good. Are we gonna pull back all the way down to this daily? I wouldn't like this. This again is gonna mean the market is getting very bearish on the 4-hourly time frame, and then we're gonna have to wait again for a very big shift. So I'm gonna keep right now this imbalance as my reference point. Let's see if it's actually going to get tapped and continue higher from here, because very likely also it could just start rocking higher from here, attacking the liquidity. So those are the two zones that we have. Which one is going to get tapped? Again, this is outside of my control, so I just have to wait for the market to open and show me what it wants to do. I would definitely love to work with this 4-hourly breakaway gap because it's also aligning with this very nice order block to the left, these 3 sell candles before the very big buy. So this to me is a very good point of interest to be looking for longs. So if ES and NASDAQ pull back into these kind of zones, I'm definitely looking for longs. So let's see how it plays out. YM was actually the weakest indexed from them all. You can see the weekly time frame was absolutely bearish, attacking this weekly swing point. And again, I probably told you last time, when the indices take such swing points, they tend to react very nicely. Now the problem with US 30 is that it's going to be tapping into a lot of weekly resistance areas, right? You can see on the way down it created these 2 weekly bearish imbalances that are going to cause some sort of struggle. Okay, so just be aware of that. We're tapping right now into the first one, and we're having this daily bullish imbalance as well to suggest that the very recent order flow right now is starting to shift bullish. Now again, the question is, are we going to pull back into that daily right now and then start pushing higher, or are we just going to continue pushing higher? This is again outside of my control. We're really going to wait and see what's going to happen. But very similar to pretty much the other two, we're having this beautiful forward imbalance together again with this overall order block here. So same setup, looking for this sort of pullback, continuation higher. But then of course, for all the indices, keep in mind that daily zone. We can have some short-term sell-off to potentially give us a very good price into that daily imbalance, and then maybe from there those markets can potentially start going higher. So let's see, YM, I wouldn't right now trade YM on the upside, and I'm going to tell you why. It's because again it has a lot of resistance areas. It has this weekly, it has this weekly. It was a lot more bearish here, which means that it's overall weaker, but also I really like how it's starting to pop higher right now, which is also means that a lot of buyers are starting to enter into this market as well. But my favorite is gonna be ES. From all those, I'm definitely gonna focus on ES. It looks the best. It's usually the most stable one. But why I'm also giving us a confirmation that the market is taking a shift means that all the indices could potentially get bullish. We have 2 zones to work with. Let's see how they're gonna play out. Well, after 3 weeks of a chop, DAX decides to absolutely rocket. So we're rocketing into the upside, taking the weekly liquidity here, and then dropping onto the daily time frame, we also do have a very nice daily imbalance that I really wanted for the market to tap, but it did not. Friday just opened and whoop, expanded once again very nicely. So what I will be really looking right now for DAX is a daily bullish imbalance to be created after Monday. Okay, so when you have an expansion candle like this, I always say wait for the next candle to close, wait for it to make that daily imbalance. So similar here, right? We had this Wednesday as a very nice expansion. So on Thursday, I actually told my team, let's wait for Thursday. Because we just took liquidity. So let's wait for it to close. Let's wait for it to actually form a daily imbalance. And then we look for it to pull back and trade on Friday higher. Unfortunately, the market just opened and pushed without a daily imbalance, so that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So I'm going to be looking for Monday to close, form a new daily bullish imbalance, then pull back into it, okay? And then potentially trade higher from that, because it's also pretty bullish. It also has, for example, right now we have this forward imbalance to potentially work with as well. That could be even something that is gonna push the market higher. I just don't like how high it is already, right? It's taking all-time highs, it's very high. So I would definitely appreciate some sort of a pullback, a little bit of a pullback for us to potentially continue going higher. Because yeah, you can see, for example, here we also took all-time highs, okay? But then you see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, we still continue to push up until we started a pullback. So I do still think there is a lot of steam to the upside. So again, if you get like a daily pullback or a hourly pullback, definitely looking for the long side. All right, let's throw a little bit of a recap. Now, I am definitely more bullish on the DXY, but what I really want to see is the hourly time frame to truly pick up kind of the steam and really start showing me that it actually wants to go higher, potentially with some 4-hourly bullish imbalances. And all the rest, I am very definitely a lot more bearish, right? Euro USD is going to be tapping into daily bullish imbalance that I really want to see fail, and then potentially introduce bearishness to trade from. GU is definitely better because it's the weakest currency right now, because with the things happening in England and there, it doesn't really matter. It's just the most bearish currency right now. You can see it weekly bearish, daily bearish, hourly bearish. Everything is aligned. So if you manage to catch some shorts, definitely go for it. Aussie dollar, a little bit 50-50. I will definitely wait to see which side actually takes over. Meanwhile, NZDUSD, the sellers are already starting to take over. We have daily bearish, the daily bullish is actually failing. So if you do get something on the 4H or on the 1-hourly time frame, you can definitely look for shorts. Gold is definitely more on the bullish side as well. Now, are we going to pull back to the daily imbalance here and then push higher, or are we just going to straight push higher? This is again outside of my control. We got to really wait and see what the market's going to do. USD/JPY, it's bearish on the short term, especially with this daily bearish breakaway gap, but the weekly time frame is still bullish. So maybe the buyers can start kicking in, because the DXY can also potentially start picking up some bullish steam. And don't forget, we're having interest rate for the Bank of Japan this week. So that can potentially be determining a lot of the things that can happen for the JPYs. So make sure to wait for that. Euro JPY, I would avoid it. It doesn't have anything on the daily and doesn't have anything on the hourly time frame. While GJ, it has a weekly bearish zone. It has a daily bearish zone as well. So you can definitely look for shorts from that daily zone, targeting the liquidity if you get your entry model and if the market truly shows that it actually wants to go lower. Indices, they're all looking bullish. ES is looking bullish, having a daily zone and also having a hourly zone to work with. Same with NASDAQ, daily zone and hourly zone to work with. YM, exactly the same, although YM has a lot of resistance there is to the left in the form of these 2 weekly bearish imbalances that can cause the market to pull back a little bit. So if you're looking to long some instruments, definitely try more with ES and NQ. And DAX also, DAX already crashing all-time highs, printing daily and hourly bullish imbalances. So any sort of pullback to the downside, higher lows, is going to give us some long opportunities. So the week actually looks good. I'm mainly going to be focusing on the indices because they're the cleanest. GU could be also a very nice opportunity because it's definitely bearish. It has some very nice liquidity targets. Gold is going to need a little bit more steam. GJ is another thing on my radar potentially for shorts. So it looks like a good week, although we do not have a lot of USD news. It can definitely still go very nicely with Trump actually officially getting into the White House. Let's see how that is going to play out. Let me know how you traded this week. Let me know what are your favorite setups for next week. And I'm going to talk to you soon again.